The human ship landed softly on the cracked surface of the alien planet. Dust rose in small clouds as the landing thrusters died down, and a heavy silence filled the air. Captain Alex Hart stepped out, his boots crunching over broken stone and metal debris. The world looked dead. Buildings that once stretched proudly into the sky now lay in ruins. Smoke curled lazily from jagged towers, and a bitter wind carried the scent of ash and decay. Alex tightened the straps on his utility belt. His eyes scanned the horizon. The distress signal had been weak but clear. Somewhere in this destruction, someone or something was alive. He adjusted his visor, the heads-up display highlighting the faint heat signatures among the rubble. One of them was small, delicate and moving slowly. He started toward the source, his footsteps echoing unnaturally in the quiet. The ruins creaked and groaned with the wind, as though the planet itself was mourning. Pieces of broken walls and shattered glass lay like scars across the ground. Alex moved carefully, aware that the unstable structures could collapse without warning. A soft voice, almost lost in the wind, stopped him. "Please. Human, help." Alex froze. He listened. Again the voice came, tiny and trembling. "Please take me and Mama." His heart tightened. The voice was fragile, frightened, yet filled with hope. Alex followed the sound, stepping carefully over fallen beams and crumbling stone. The heat signatures led him to a half-collapsed building. Inside, the air was thick with dust. He could see two faint shapes beneath a pile of rubble. He rushed forward and began lifting the debris. The larger shape was pinned, struggling. The smaller shape, a child, looked up at him with wide, fearful eyes. The child's skin was pale blue, shimmering faintly, and her hair fell in silver strands that glowed in the dim light. She reached out a tiny hand toward him. "Shh, it's okay. I've got you," Alex said softly, lifting the stones with all his strength. Sweat dripped down his face and dust filled his lungs, but he refused to stop. The child, Lyra, clung to her mother, Celine, who groaned in pain. Alex finally freed them both. Celine's leg was trapped under a fallen beam, and her breathing was shallow. Lyra buried her face in Alex's chest, trembling. He assessed their injuries quickly. Celine had a deep gash across her thigh, but it wasn't life-threatening if treated soon. Lyra was unharmed physically, but her small body shook with fear. "We have to get out of here," Alex said, lifting Lyra into his arms. He helped Celine to her feet, supporting her weight. The ruins outside groaned louder, warning of imminent collapse. As they moved, a low rumble shook the ground. Dust and debris fell around them. Alex glanced up at a crumbling tower, its top swaying dangerously. He ran faster, zigzagging through the rubble, shielding Lyra with his body. Celine limped beside him, holding his arm for support. Suddenly, a panel of broken metal shifted, trapping his foot. Alex cursed under his breath, struggling to free it. Lyra clung tighter to him, her tiny arms around his neck. With a sharp yank, he freed himself, and they sprinted again. Behind them, the tower finally collapsed, sending a cloud of dust into the air. They reached a small open area, temporarily safe. Alex set Lyra down gently. She looked up at him with tears in her eyes. "Will we die, human?" she asked, her voice trembling. Alex shook his head. "No, I won't let that happen. I promise." Celine leaned heavily on him, her face pale. "Thank you, human," she whispered. Her words were weak but filled with gratitude. Alex looked around. They couldn't stay here. The ruins were dangerous, and hostile scavengers had been reported in the area. He needed a plan. He glanced at his communicator, but the signal was weak. Reinforcements were hours away. If they stayed, they would be sitting targets. "Follow me. We need to find shelter," Alex said, scanning the surrounding terrain. He spotted a series of caves carved into the mountains nearby. Those caves should be safe for now. "Come on." Lyra grabbed his hand, her small fingers cold. Celine followed slowly, leaning on Alex. The trek was difficult. Sharp stones cut through their shoes, and the wind howled around them, making it hard to hear. Every step was a struggle, but Alex never faltered. He kept the child and her mother close, checking constantly that they were safe. During the walk, Lyra whispered questions. "Human, why do you help us?" "Why don't you leave us here?" Alex smiled faintly, though he was exhausted. "Because no one deserves to be alone when they are in danger. That's why humans help," Lyra's eyes shone. "I thought all humans were gone. The war. They said humans were strong but cruel too." Alex shook his head. "Not all humans. Some of us fight to protect, not destroy. By the time they reached the caves, the sun was low on the horizon, painting the sky in dark red and orange. The caves were narrow but stable, a safe hiding place for the night. Alex guided them inside, checking for dangers before letting them settle. He helped Celine sit against the cave wall and checked her injuries. He pulled a small first aid kit from his pack and began dressing her wound carefully. Lyra watched closely, fascinated by the human's careful hands. "You're very gentle, human," Lyra said softly. Alex smiled. "That's because I want to help. I can't fix everything, but I can make sure you're safe." Celine's breathing slowed as she rested. Lyra curled up next to her mother, finally allowing herself to relax. Alex kept watch near the cave entrance, listening to the wind and the distant rumble of collapsing ruins. He couldn't let his guard down. The scavengers could be anywhere. Hours passed and night fell. The stars above were bright, scattered across the dark sky. Alex studied them for a moment, thinking about the countless worlds humans had explored, the dangers they had faced. Yet here he was, protecting two fragile lives in a place no one else dared to go. A sudden noise made him tense. A branch snapped outside. His hand moved to his weapon instinctively, but it was only a small animal scurrying past. He exhaled slowly, trying to calm himself. He would need to move quickly in the morning. They couldn't stay in the cave forever. Lyra stirred beside her mother. "Will we have to leave tomorrow, human?" "Yes," Alex replied. "But I'll make sure we leave safely. I promise." The child smiled faintly, and for the first time that day, Alex felt a spark of hope. Humanity, he thought, had a way of surviving, of helping, of bringing light into even the darkest places. And tonight, that light was in the form of a small, trembling voice that had trusted him completely. The night passed slowly. Alex kept one eye open, listening to the alien wind and the distant sounds of destruction. He thought about the journey ahead, escaping the ruins, avoiding the scavengers, finding a way to bring Lyra and Celine to safety. It would not be easy, but he was human, and humans thrived in impossible situations. As dawn approached, the sky turning a pale blue, Alex gently shook Lyra awake. "Time to move, little one," he said. "We have a long way to go, but I won't let anything happen to you or your mother." Lyra rubbed her eyes and nodded, holding his hand tightly. Celine leaned on Alex's shoulder, trusting him completely. Together, the three of them stepped out of the cave, ready to face the ruined world and the dangers that awaited. Alex glanced back at the crumbled city one last time. The ruins were silent now, but not forever. Somewhere in that chaos, life had survived. And as long as humans like him existed, hope would survive too. And so, with a child's tiny voice echoing in his mind, "Please take me and Mama. Human." He stepped forward into the unknown, determined to protect them at any cost. The ruins slowly disappeared behind them as Alex led Lyra and Celine through the jagged landscape. Every step was careful. Rocks crunched underfoot and the wind carried a faint smell of smoke and ash. Lyra clung to Alex's hand, small fingers tightening whenever the wind picked up. Celine, though injured, followed steadily, trusting Alex completely. The terrain was difficult. Sharp cliffs and deep crevices marked the path. Alex scanned constantly, looking for dangers. The scavengers who had attacked the city were still out there. He could not risk being seen. Every instinct told him to move quickly but quietly. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, burning the dust in the air. Lyra began to fidget, tired from the long walk. "Human, will we rest soon?" she asked, her small voice weak but persistent. Alex looked around. "Soon," he promised. "We need to get to higher ground first. From there we can see a safe path." They climbed a narrow ridge, the wind whipping their faces. The city lay far below now, a field of ruin and smoke. Alex pointed to a distant plateau, green and untouched by the war. "That's where we're heading," he said. "It looks safe. We can rest there and figure out the next step." Celine leaned on him heavily. Her leg hurt more with every step. Alex tightened his grip, helping her along. Lyra walked between them, occasionally glancing back at the ruins. Fear was still in her eyes, but she was beginning to trust him. As they reached the plateau, a movement caught Alex's attention. Shadows flickered between rocks. Scavengers. He crouched instinctively, signaling Celine and Lyra to stay quiet. They pressed against the ground as the figures moved closer, crude weapons glinting in the sun. Alex's mind raced. They could not fight openly, not with Celine injured and Lyra so small. He needed a distraction. Spotting a pile of rocks nearby, he whispered instructions to Lyra. The child nodded, her fear mixed with determination. She picked up a stone and threw it far from their hiding spot. The scavengers paused, looking toward the noise. Alex seized the moment, pulling Selene and Lyra to a narrow crevice. They moved quickly, silent and low. The scavengers shouted in frustration, but were already too late. Alex led them safely down a hidden path behind the plateau. When the danger passed, they collapsed near a small stream. The cool water sparkled in the sunlight, a rare moment of peace. Alex offered some water to Selene and Lyra. The child drank eagerly while Selene sipped slowly. "You've saved us," Selene said softly, her voice trembling. I don't know how to thank you." Alex shook his head. "You don't need to. I'm just doing what's right. That's what humans do. We help when we can." Lyra's eyes were wide, staring at him with admiration. "I think humans are amazing," she said quietly. "You're very brave." Alex smiled despite the tension of the day. He knew the real danger was not over. They had escaped the city, but the planet was far from safe. They needed to reach a place where they could contact his ship and be evacuated. As they rested, Alex began to explain what they would do next. "We'll move through the canyon," he said. "It's narrow, so it's harder for anyone to follow us. Once we reach the other side, there should be a landing zone where my ship can pick us up." The journey through the canyon was slow. The walls rose high, casting shadows over them. Every sound echoed strangely, and Alex had to lead carefully. At one point, Selene stumbled, and Alex caught her just in time. Lyra's tiny hands gripped his arm tightly, her face full of worry. Night fell as they entered the heart of the canyon. Alex set up a small camp, careful to stay hidden. He built a fire low to the ground, just enough to keep them warm. Selene leaned against him, exhausted, while Lyra curled up close to her mother. Alex kept watch, scanning the shadows for any signs of pursuit. Hours passed, and the fire crackled softly. Alex thought about the family he was protecting. In a galaxy full of wars and destruction, moments like this reminded him why humans were different. They could fight, yes, but they could also care, protect, and bring hope where it was needed most. The next morning, they moved again. The canyon narrowed, forcing them to walk single file. Alex took the lead, with Selene close behind and Lyra between them. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the walls, a patrol of scavengers. Alex acted immediately. He found a small ledge above their path. "Quick, follow me," he whispered. They climbed silently, holding onto roots and rocks. The scavengers passed below, shouting in anger when they found the canyon empty. Alex waited until the last echoes died away before continuing. "That was close," he said. Lyra shivered. "I thought they would take us." "They can't," Alex said firmly. "Not as long as I'm here." Finally, after hours of careful walking, they reached the edge of the canyon. Beyond it lay a flat valley with a small clearing. Alex's ship was visible, waiting among rocks and sparse trees. Relief washed over him. "Almost there," he whispered to Selene and Lyra. "Just a little further." They ran the last stretch. Selene's injured leg slowed them, but Alex supported her completely. Lyra ran ahead, her tiny feet moving faster than expected. As they reached the ship, Alex activated the boarding ramp. They entered safely, and Alex sealed the door. The engines roared to life, lifting them above the planet. Outside, the ruins of the city faded into the distance. Lyra pressed her face against the window, watching as the world they had barely escaped disappeared. Inside, Selene finally allowed herself to rest. Alex checked her injuries again, making sure everything was stable. "You're going to be fine," he said. "I'll make sure of it." Lyra sat close to him, still holding his hand. "Human, why did you help us?" "No one else did." Alex looked at her with a gentle smile. "Because helping others is what makes us human. It's not about strength or weapons, it's about courage, kindness, and hope." The child's eyes shone with wonder. "I want to be brave like you," she said softly. "You already are," Alex replied. "Being brave doesn't mean you're never scared. It means you act even when you are." As the ship rose higher into space, Alex plotted a course for the nearest human outpost. There, Selene could receive proper medical care and Lyra could be safe. The journey was long, but they were alive, together, and hopeful. Over the next few days, Alex shared stories of humanity with them, tales of exploration, courage, and the bonds that kept humans strong. Lyra listened eagerly, absorbing every word. Celine smiled for the first time in weeks, her strength returning slowly. During the journey, Alex noticed how different their bond had grown. Lyra now called him simply human, a name that carried respect and affection. Celine looked at him with trust and gratitude deeper than words could express. Alex realized that saving them was more than a mission. It was the beginning of a connection that crossed worlds. When they finally approached the human outpost, the planet below looked like a paradise compared to the ruined world they had left. Rescue teams were ready, waiting to assist. Alex guided Celine and Lyra down safely. Medical personnel attended to Celine immediately, while Lyra explored the new surroundings cautiously, holding Alex's hand tightly. "You did it, human," Celine said weakly but sincerely. "You saved us," Alex shook his head. "No, we did it together. You were brave and Lyra was brave too. I just helped." Lyra hugged him, a tiny but firm embrace. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saving us." Alex smiled, feeling a warmth he hadn't realized he needed. In a galaxy filled with darkness, war, and destruction, humanity's light had shone through. It was not in the weapons, the ships, or the battles. It was in the courage to protect, to care, and to hope. As the outpost settled them into safety, Alex looked at the child and her mother. "We'll make sure you're safe from now on," he promised. "And we'll help you rebuild. You don't have to face the darkness alone anymore." Lyra smiled for the first time without fear in her eyes. Celine held his hand, grateful and relieved. And Alex, the human who had risked everything, knew that this was what it meant to be human, to bring hope, to protect life, and to show that even in the darkest places, light could survive. And somewhere in the stars, as their ship prepared for the next journey, Lyra's tiny voice echoed once more, not with fear, but with joy. "Thank you, human, for everything."